so there it is. And 14.8. Now it just sits at 14.8. That's all it does. And come to its end of its life. I hope all the gauges come to its end of its life. But I'm hoping it's just a sensor. 14.8. 14.7. There it is. 14.6, 5, 4, 3. Yes! Welcome back to 0 to 60. Today I'm back on the Supercharged M5 and hopefully going to resolve my issues with my AEM Wideband gauge. If you remember the first video when I first got this car delivered from the auction, I was happy to see that it actually had an aftermarket wideband gauge. However, it wasn't working properly. So today I want to run through a few things. It's an AEM wideband, so it is a very popular, very common gauge. So there might be a few other guys out there having similar issues. And yeah, I just want to work through a few things to try and troubleshoot it and hopefully get it reading the proper AFRs. Okay, first things first. Now I'll power the gauge up so you can see exactly what it is doing. There, so there it is. And 14.8. Now it just sits at 14.8. That's all it does. And that's all it's done since I've had the car. So I wasn't sure if that's what it was supposed to do. So I ended up getting in contact with the previous owner, and he said when the car was taken for him, or when it was picked up from him I should say, the AFR gauge was reading accurately and working properly. So it happened whilst it was at the auction yard. Something had either broken or someone's touched it or messed with something and maybe disconnected a sensor somewhere or a wire. So I'm hoping if we just check all the connections, we'll be able to get it reading properly again. So anyway, that's what this gauge does when you power it up. It just sits at 14.8, and once you start the car up, it does not move, it just stays there. So clearly, a connection somewhere is not 100% right. Now the first thing to check is the connections at the back. Those connectors there, just remove them. Give them a clean. Make sure there's no dust or anything getting in the way of a good connection. Make sure they are firmly plugged in and locked in properly. And it could be as simple as that. So, power it up again. 14.8. Nope, nothing's changed. It's not moving. It's staying there. I'm going to kill the power again and basically just continue doing those sort of checks throughout the whole wires, because obviously even if there's a bad earth somewhere, which I can see there, an earth has been connected, like looks like it's just been tech screwed into one of those metal bars behind the dash, which has a little bit of surface rust. So even if there's a bad connection with an earth in there, that could make it not work properly. I mean, obviously the gauge is still getting power, but I'm just not sure. So literally just check all the connections, and if something is loose or dodgy, if something's not soldered, if something has just been twisted and taped, then that could cause it to not get a good connection. So I'm just going to run through all the wires now quickly and see if anything's dodgy or not super tight, and see if we can fix anything like that. Okay, I've checked everything inside the car and it all seems pretty good. Everything's actually nice and tight, but still nothing on the gauge. When you power it up, still doing the same thing. So I'll put it up on the hap now and check the actual sensor, because typically there'll be a wiring harness. It'll go from the sensor to another wiring harness, and that's what you'll run through the firewall and into the car. So there could be a dodgy connection somewhere down there. If it's close to an exhaust, it could have got too hot, or if it's close to the ground, it could have been damaged or got dirty. So I'll basically now just check all the connections under there and also the sensor. So let's get it up. Okay, so here's the exhaust system, and that's where the wideband has been installed, and it runs up, and can you see that it's actually really short, and just there, I'll get a light. Oh, that is the plug for it. So it's actually really short sensor, this one. It shouldn't be too bad. If I can Get my hand in there, that's pretty good. Grab that tab and pull it out like that. And all right, well, there's a little bit of dirt actually inside them. I'm gonna hit them with some contact cleaner, give them a blowout as well, and then see if they come good like that, because there's no physical damage on the sensor itself. It all looks pretty good. It's not brittle, it's actually nice and soft and flexible. So it doesn't look like it's damaged. I reckon we could be in luck. All right, fingers crossed. Okay, unfortunately, that didn't fix it. Yeah, I basically cleaned it all out, and I did manage to get a little bit of dirt out of the connector, but I dropped the car back down, tried it again, and it was still exactly the same. So basically, that's all of the wires from the sensor all the way to the gauge. They all seem pretty good. The only thing left to do now is replace the actual O2 sensor itself. And to be fair, they're not gonna last forever, so they're gonna need replaced every now and then. One thing I wanted to check is where it was installed, but it's actually installed in a pretty good location here. I've seen online some people, obviously it's much easier to just install it sort of at that angle. And if they sort of come past further than that 90 degrees, either on that side of the pipe or that side of the pipe, obviously anywhere above it is fine. But if they mount it, if they put the bung in anywhere below that 90-degree angle, then moisture and anything that comes through the exhaust can just sit inside that bung and on the sensor, which isn't good for it, so that can kill it prematurely. But this one, it's been in the pipe, it's actually in a pretty good location, so it should be fine. And to be fair, it could have just been in the car for a couple of years and come to its end of its life. I hope all the gauges come to its end of its life, but I'm hoping it's just a sensor. So Andrew's actually got a spare wideband sensor for his 335. It should be the same connector, it'll just be a different wire length or whatever, because his is specific for the 335. So I'll see if that plugs in and see what it does then. All right, let's get to it. All right, moment of truth. This is kind of my last resort. After this, I've got to buy a new gauge. Oh, race seats are hard to get into on a hoist. All right. Powering up. Poo. 14.8. 14.8. 14.7, there it is, 14.6, 5, 4, 3, yes! Bang, bang, bang. Okay, 3 dots. So that's what it should do. Obviously it turned on, it came up to 14.8, which is what it was at before, and then it's just gone to 3 dots, which basically means free air, because obviously there's no air going over it, so it's not, yeah, it's not ready. Now, let's make sure it's in neutral. Now, I haven't actually seen what this car is running. I know it's bloody rich, so I'm gonna fire it up. You ready? Let's see what it says. Okay. Well, that's awesome. That is wicked. I've just fixed the AFR gauge. Saved myself some money. I found, it seems like most wideband sensors, they're all the same Bosch part number, just with different length wires. And you can actually get a replacement sensor pretty cheap. So if you are having this problem, I'll throw a link below, and I'm gonna grab myself one now so I can give this sensor back to Andrew. And then when that's here, I can yeah, I'll plug it back in and I've finally got a wideband AFR gauge for this beast. So that's awesome. That wasn't too bad to fix at all. Saved myself some money, I reckon. Well, now all that's left to do is go into a wide open pool and see what it's reading. God damn, this thing is fuely. Even with the windows and doors open to the shed, it just fills it up with fuel straight away. There we go. Hopefully that has been helpful for you guys running a wideband AFR gauge, having 14.8 issues. Yeah, I mean, you could be really lucky. It could just be a loose connection. Something might not be plugged in properly. But worst case scenario, it looks like the sensor might have just died. But it actually looks like if anything is wrong with the connection or if the sensor's dead, it just defaults to 14.8. So that's another pretty bad giveaway as well. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it has been helpful for you. If you do have any other questions, just put them in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah.